Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode with Tap In with Tristan. We got another long-lived Amityville edition. This one is special. It's a privilege for me to be with this gentleman. But before we get into who this is, please make sure y'all hit that subscribe button for me and click that notification bell because you don't want to miss this beautiful content. Without further ado, we got Mr. Shelton Jones. Talk to him, OG.
What's happening, man? How are you? How's everybody?
We doing good. We got the legend here, the living legend himself.
I appreciate that.
I appreciate you. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to tap in with your boy.
My pleasure, man. I love to do it.
Yeah, man. So listen, man, we just want to celebrate you on this platform, and you've done so much for the community, and we want to just say thank you. And we just want to just get a little bit of backstory about you, man. Hopefully we can motivate and educate the people that are going to be on this thing.
Oh, well, just to give you a little bit of background on myself.
Let's start with young Shelton, man. What did that look like with childhood, man, when basketball get in there?
Well, I believe it was around, I had to be around 8 years old or something like that. My uncle, who just passed away recently, maybe last year or so, passed away. He built a dirt court in his yard, and that's where it all started, man.
That's where it all started.
Him and my aunt had 6 kids.
Okay.
And me and my brothers and sisters are 4, and a couple of other cousins. We would pile in their bedrooms every Sunday and watch all the games, like Bob McAdoo, Dr. J, cats like that. We used to watch it all day long. That's how it got started.
So that's when it got started. So when you was cutting your teeth, are you in Amityville at this time?
Oh, I was. No, I was actually in Copac.
You was in Copac?
Yeah, I was right next door.
Right next door. So you started falling in love with the game at 8th grade. I mean, 8 years old.
Around 8 years old.
Around 8 years old. Now, how was it? Was you good, man? This the only sport you was playing, or you was like, man, I got a lot of work to do? What that look like?
Well, I played like every sport. Like I played football, I ran track, baseball, you know what I mean? So, but basketball was just a particular love because, mostly because my older brother, Greg Jones, G-Man, like I was watching him, you know what I mean? And he got to be pretty good. So I kind of just followed in his footsteps.
Right. So that's dope. So when's your first time putting on a uniform for basketball? Because this basketball thing took you all around the world. When did you first start putting that uniform on? What that look like?
Man, that's a good question. I believe the first game that I remember that first team that I suited up for was St. Martin's.
Yeah.
The CYO. Yeah, the CYO team, St. Martin's. I think that was the first time I suited up.
That's dope, because I think that's like one of my first outside of like the MAC, playing at the MAC. I think mine was the first one with St. Martin's too.
Really? So they still had the team
when you
were there?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, mine was 6th grade. That was my first time of putting on 6th grade with St. Martin's.
Right. Yeah. I actually played on the 6th grade traveling team, but I was in the 5th grade when I played.
He was playing up.
Yeah, I played. They made me play up. I remember I went to the intramural workout. It was right across the street from my house. I lived on County Line Road in Amityville, at Northwest School. There was a tryout for intramurals. I remember this is when I first started getting into organized ball. I went to the tryout. And I remember the first time I did a layup, I did a layup and I kind of smacked the backboard a couple times, like, that's how we do
the backboard, man.
Yeah, right. So I remember Mr. Lamont was the coach, and he was like, "Oh no," he was like, "No, you don't belong here. Come back tomorrow night." So then I went back the next night, and everybody in there was like a grade older than me. Like it was the 6th grade travel team. That was the first time that I suited up. I was St. Martin's. I played with guys like Eric Snell. I don't know if you remember Eric Snell.
I know the Snells very well. Go ahead.
Rod Turner, Jimmy Bryant, these guys. And we kind of grew together like from that time all the way to high school.
So going through the middle school, what did the middle school years look like for Shelton Jones?
The middle school years were a blur. Like I really don't remember like a lot of, like I tried to, like a couple of games I remember, like playing Brennan and someone else. I remember a couple of games, but it was middle school's a blur for me. I barely remember.
So let's go into the meat and potatoes of this thing, man, because you kind of kicked the door in for our community, man. What was high school, dude? Yeah, when did we put on that varsity uniform?
I was a sophomore.
Okay.
I remember we had an initiation thing. I was in the 9th grade, and they had the initiation thing, like where they would pants you if you come up to the high school or whatever they call it. They wait till a bunch of people around, and they make you drop your pants like they're
Oh
about to have
man. Oh, okay.
initiation. So I was in the 9th grade, I remember, and everybody was hearing that there was this young player, me coming up, and I was going to be on varsity. I wasn't saying this, but this was
This is the word on the street.
yeah, that was the word of the street, no doubt. So a couple of guys used to come up to the junior high school, man, and back me in the corner and threaten me like if I was going to come. Yo, I promise you, man, I promise you. So I never really was interested in really trying out too much up at the high school until my sophomore year. Like next year, then I tried out and I made it.
You tried out. And who did you play for? Who was the coach at this time?
Fred Williams. Coach
Mr.
Fred Williams.
Mr. Fred Williams. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, man. What was it like playing for him? Give some people some, hands-on, you know what I mean, encounters and let them know kind of what that was like, your relationship with him.
Oh man, it was more like a father figure than anything else. You know what I mean? He was my mentor. I really believe that if he wouldn't have passed away when he did, that my career would have took a different path. Because like you said, I'm the first one out the gate. You know what I mean? So I didn't really have anybody in front of me showing me anything or anybody to pull me back in when I go too far, that kind of stuff like that. So he was really important to me in that way. Like he groomed us all up from kids when we were kids. But, it wasn't always a great relationship. Like from the beginning, we used to hate Mr. Williams, man.
Why was that? Why was that?
Strict. He was so strict. He wouldn't forget about the grades. Forget about what kind of grades you have to get on the team. But you couldn't dribble between your legs. You couldn't dunk unless you made it. Like if you missed, you're definitely coming out the game. No dunking in warm up, like none of this stuff. He was real strict. He was a disciplinarian, but I promise you, man, this guy had done so much for me, like as a man. Just as a man. Where I really got to know him at was the high school All-American game, because we were able to bring our coaches. Our high school coaches got to come with us. So that's how I really got to know him. That's how we really got close. Like we stayed actually in the same hotel room. I actually saw this guy come out the bathroom with his boxers on. Like we were that tight. Like,
yeah. This is almost like family now.
Oh man, my man, Mr. Williams. So we got to experience a lot of that together as well,
So you mentioned the All-American game, right? So that means you had some type of career. When did you start to see, or was you recognizing like this is starting to turn a corner? And when was that time? Was it sophomore year, junior year, or senior year? When did you start feeling like, hold up, this is getting different?
Well, I was actually naive about the whole thing. Like I was thinking my sophomore, junior year, I was thinking, that I wouldn't mind going to Farmingdale, schools like that. Like I'm telling you, man, you might look at me like, man.
No, I believe it. He's like, I don't know this world. I don't know this whole thing. So I don't even know.
I was thinking locally, like I was thinking like a local cat, like I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna be the best, and then that's it. That's all I was thinking until my junior year, the beginning of my junior year.
Okay, talk to us.
My brother and I, Greg Jones, G-Man, who I mentioned earlier, we were watching the All-American game with Pearl Washington was playing in.
What year is this? Give us a year so people can know.
83. It was 83. Right, my junior year.
Your junior year.
Right. And we were watching Pearl Washington. And then I remember a commercial came on and my brother got up to go out the room or something like that. And just as like we're talking like this, as a matter of fact, he said, oh, you're going to play in that game next year, like that. And he walked out.
He walked out.
He walked out the room. And it was like he planted a mustard seed in me, like the smallest thing, little thing he said, and it grew to this oak because I that's all I thought about from that moment. I was like, man, can I really play that? First, I started thinking like, can I really play that?
Yeah, you started questioning, can I even do that? And then
right. Then after a while, I kept thinking about it. I was like, nah. I was like, I'm gonna play that. So I started thinking about it, started focusing on it, and then things just started happening that led me to that direction. It was the most amazing moment, one of the most amazing moments in my life. I'll never forget it.
It's beautiful, and it's something that still rings out for us, man, because you you pioneered the whole situation for us, man. We have a rich history and you're at the epicenter of it all. So we thank you. So were you doing any type of training? Was G-Man helping you train anything? What was you get? How was you developing your skill set?
Man, looking at the talent that we have today, I played in black and white. Like it was black and white days when I played. But we really didn't do anything. Me and my brother talk about this all the time, and that's one of the reasons that my career fell short as well, because I never really worked on my game. Like never. As a kid growing up, we did normal kid things. Yep. Like we loved balancing on fences. Like we would just walk on top of fences.
Yeah.
Type of stuff. Like there was helping our balance and getting our creativity together that we didn't even know. We used to jump over fences, do flips, stuff
like flipping on the mattresses and all this type of stuff.
All kind of stuff like that, man, that actually helped us because we would do it like we weren't like the kids nowadays where we stayed inside all day. We was outside. We were
outside all day.
Yeah, absolutely. Playing tag, playing different type of things that you had to elude people, different things like that that really helped us become more athletic, I believe.
Yeah. So
yeah, but I never really worked on my game like that. Like really went and worked on dribbling, worked on this. I just did it for the love.
It was just out there. You was just playing on instinct.
Absolutely.
That's crazy. But I can recognize that because I was kind of in that same boat, man. And that's what makes Amityville even more unique. It's not that many people. It's not that many people, but there's a lot of talent to come from there. And not a lot of resources as far as being taught. Right. Just going out there hooping with the guys and making stuff happen, man. It's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah, like it's amazing how my situation happened, like because it seems like it came out of nowhere.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about that. Like you said, junior year, you watching the game pro Washington. How do we even get there? Like, where do you feel like that?
But the thing is I where I was at that point, I didn't just get there at that point. That's where I woke up.
That's where you seen that it was even a possibility.
Right. Absolutely.
So talk to us about what happened after.
Sure. So that's where the dream really began, right there.
Okay.
Because when I think the dream started a long time ago when I was at St. Martin. Because I was out there killing the boys for a long time.
They're cooking crazy.
So the actual dream didn't start until that moment, like in the room with my brother, my junior year.
So what happened junior year? What happened leading up into, did you go to like a 5-star camp? Did you do it? How did we get that ranking? What do you think it was to get that ranking?
I did. Well, first of all, from my 9th grade year to my sophomore year, I grew 6 inches.
So you grew 6 inches. What height, from what height to what height? Because that's
I went from 5'11" to 6'5".
Yeah.
Over the summer, yeah. And I didn't even realize that I had gotten taller until I got back to school and all the lockers were down here on my chest. And you know what I mean? Stuff like that. The people, I was like head and shoulders above everybody. It was incredible, man.
I didn't know that, Shelton. I didn't know that you had that growth spurt like that.
But I was already a big guy, like taller than guys in my class
and stuff like
that.
But
I had an amazing growth spurt.
And then you're like, hold on, now we about to really turn up. So what happened?
It became different at that point because I was playing point guard the whole time. Like my whole life, I'm a point guard. You know what I mean? Guard. Even on St. Martin's, even though I was the biggest guy on the team, I was still the point guard.
You was a point guard, so now you adding length to it, but you still got
that. Now I got size and skill. You know what I mean?
Now you're becoming a prospect.
Right. Absolutely. I'm getting dangerous. And then from 10th grade to my freshman year in college, like I grew to 6'9". I grew like 4 more inches.
That's crazy. So now you really turning up. How's this recruitment going into the senior year? Because now you're starting to ring out. Like you're completely on the map now.
Right.
Completely on the map. We're talking about New York. Like let me give a little backstory. This is when New York is popping. Long Island is popping. There's talent at like within the Long Island. There's a lot of good players and teams. So I think that it's safe to say that you guys had probably the most talented, if not one of the most talented teams to come through Amityville, and you being the center of that. Let's talk a little bit more about that senior year now. I just wanted to lay that out there for people. This is a big time golden era in New York basketball.
Absolutely. Well, at the time, coming off from the junior season, we had a pretty good year.
Mhm.
And like I said, that growth spurt that I had, from my junior year to my senior year, I was a little taller when I came back the next year, my senior year. So all that played a big part of it. But the main thing was the experience that I had from
Yep.
sophomore year. And then we got a couple of big guys, and of course we had Cooley High, DJ
Yeah.
Super C High, the super sophomore. This guy wasn't even going to try out for the team, man.
This dude told me, he told me y'all physically picked him up and
We
brought him
grabbed
in.
his ass. We pulled him. I literally picked him up and took him in there and dropped him in the gym. It was funny as hell. But yeah, that team was awesome though, man. We had a little bit of everything. Like Chris, even though he was a sophomore, he was a little older. He was a little more mature. I think he stayed back a year or whatever. So it's almost like they do now with that prep school. Almost
like a
kind of like
reclass. It was like a reclass for him.
yeah, so that really helped us in a tremendous way as well. There was so many good teams though back then.
Yeah.
Like there was like Bridgehampton, Roosevelt, Hempstead. Like there was so many good places, good teams that we had.
Babylon. Yeah.
Babylon,
Brad Brush and all them dudes. Yeah, Brad Brush and all. Yeah, tons of guys. So how do we navigate this, man? How do we have? I know the letters are coming in. I know people are calling you. Is your family recognizing the magnitude of where you're going? Because you end up being the New York State Player of the Year. You end up doing the things that your brother actually said. What is this going like? You're from Amityville, dude. What's going on in the neighborhood? I know the neighborhood is rallying. What's going on, dude? I need to be able to bring me back to '84.
It was crazy. Actually, I signed my recruiting. Speaking about my recruiting, I started getting recruiting letters to be maybe the end of my sophomore year.
Yup.
Even they weren't big schools or anything, but I started getting letters.
Right.
And my junior year, though, after my sophomore year, the summer of my sophomore year, I went to Eastern Invitational basketball camp.
There you go.
It was out in Trenton, New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Right, Trenton, New Jersey. And that was like the camp that I went to. And it was a scout there named Tom Konchowski, I believe that was.
Tom Konchowski, absolutely.
You remember that name?
Absolutely. He's about 6'9", sitting in the stands with a notebook.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Tom Konchowski. And I guess he saw me there. And he started, it was a magazine. I forgot the name of the magazine, but there was a high school magazine at the time.
Right.
And he wrote an article about me from the East.
So you ring it off now.
And from then on, it just took off. As a matter of fact, I got so sick of the recruiting that I only took 2 visits and I cut it off my junior year. I signed with St. John's my junior year before my senior season even started.
It was too heavy. It was too much.
Oh man, it got hectic, man. Every day somebody was coming. Like I couldn't go do what I wanted to do anymore. I was like, oh man, it was too much, man. It got off the hook. Like I had recruiters outside waiting for one to leave and another one came in, stuff like that.
Man, how's the family feeling about this, dude? G-Man and the parents and everything. What's going on with that? Like they like, bro.
I think they really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But they kind of kept me humble at the same time.
Absolutely.
I mean, like they didn't treat me any different. Like I didn't feel any different or anything like that. Like my mom still was yelling at me to clean up my room and stuff like that.
Yeah, you still Shelton, dude. Don't get it twisted around here.
Yeah, they kept me humble.
So, dude, you had an illustrious career. You're New York State Player of the Year. You're playing in the All-American game. Really the first one from our high school. That's legendary stuff right there. Then you go to play at St. John's. And St. John's is in the midst of a crazy run. You got crazy talent there. Do you feel like you was prepared for that, man? And what was that when you got to St. John's? Talk to me about that.
I was not prepared for what happened when I first got to St. John's. I was not prepared for it. Now, but you got to remember, when I signed at St. John's, Coach Conasecca, they guaranteed me, they promised me that I'd be able to play point guard.
Really?
Yeah, oh man, we drank champagne, clicked the glasses and everything to that.
They had the handshake agreement.
My vision, what I saw myself doing, And so they agreed. They were like, okay, we got it. So that's why I signed with them,
right.
But I wound up never playing point guard at all. If you remember those days, I never played point guard. I never played guard at all.
No.
Yeah. So
they had you in the front court.
Yeah, they had me in the front court. So when I went to St. John's, I actually went there and we got to get the first day of practice and all, because we're playing in the gym and everything. But I'm doing me. I'm getting rebounds, taking it coast to coast. I'm getting the ball from out of bounds, taking it up, like doing what I do.
Yeah.
You know? But when the season starts, like I'm not there. So it was like a whole new game to me. I had to learn how to play a whole new way. Like, cause I wasn't used to playing with my back to the basket.
Wow.
And
Right.
at the time, I'm like by the time my freshman year, I'm like 6'8",
Yeah.
180, 185, you know what I mean? So I'm
Yeah.
slim, I'm my back to the basket. Now I got grown men like Willie Glass, Walter Berry, Ron Stewart, Bill Winnington. Like I got these guys in the front court with me. So I'm doing, man, they're killing me, Christian. I promise you, after like the first, I'll say first 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I was calling, every day I was calling, I was like, yo, I can't do it. I was like, yo, these niggas are killing me.
They got me out of position.
I was like, coach won't give me the ball, won't let me face up, won't me. I said, I can't. I said, they're killing me. I can't do this. So I was talking about transferring. I was thinking about transferring.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Nobody knows this either, man.
I appreciate you spilling these beans, bro. This is some tea for real. You was thinking about transferring.
Absolutely, man.
Did you have some teams in mind? Did you have some schools in mind?
Yeah. I don't talk about this stuff a lot, but I was about to transfer. And assistant coach, Ron Rutledge, he got wind that I was thinking about transferring.
Ron Rutledge.
To the side, you know, he gave me this whole spiel about this and about that and convinced me to stay. You know, and I'm glad that he did convince me to stay because I eventually got it. You know what I mean? I eventually picked it up and became a better all-around player.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I still, in the games, even though I wasn't the point guard, I could still get the rebound and go.
And facilitate still.
Absolutely. I could still do those type of things. You know what I mean? Block shots and lead the break with it, you know, stuff like that.
So you had to transform on the fly.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I had to figure out ways that I could score, where I could go, you know, because I was used to facing up. Like if I'm facing up and I'm coming towards you, you dead.
You're a wing. You grew up a wing. You was a point guard and then you turned into a big wing with point guard skills. So I'm always facing the basket. And maybe I have the ability to so my but now you got me as a full front court player and I'm dealing with guys that been growing up.
I was playing my sophomore year in college. I started at center. Wow. We had 2 7-footers on the bench, and he started me at center.
Wow!
Like, come on, man! I was like, are you kidding me?
And that can throw you way left. You know what I'm saying? It takes a great amount of maturity to recognize, like, hey, I can still make this work. Because you know what I'm saying? Like today, the game is more positionless now, but then you had more designated roles.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. So then you're like, yo, he got me out of my role. That's going to alter your confidence. That's going to alter your.
I wanted to quit after the first month. I wanted to quit.
Wow, they had you wanting to quit. A high school All-American, like, yo, this is not for me no more.
I wanted to quit. I was like, oh man, what did I get myself into? Like, because I didn't even realize, like I said, that they were changing my whole game up. You know what I mean? I just knew that these things was kicking my ass. That's all I knew.
What do you think the reason why? If you can like just go back, why do you think they was transforming you? Was it because of the roster?
I believe so. They had Mike Moses, they had Mark Jackson.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Jackson.
And I think for them, it was when Mark Jackson was their future at point guard, you know? Yeah. So I think that them bringing me, they didn't want to lose the type of prospect that was right there.
Because it's like somebody's not going to be happy and probably going to want to leave and everything like that. Shelton's 6'9". We can convert him. Like Mark Jackson is about 6'2".
That's what they were thinking the whole time, for sure.
There's no converting Mark Jackson.
Oh man, unbelievable.
We got to keep him on ball because he's a special talent, but he's not 6'9".
Right.
Shelton's 6'9". We can convert him and still use his skill set, and we can hopefully he accepts that. So that's probably what they think it was.
And I would have been dynamite playing under him, like Mark Jackson as my mentor. Like if I had a chance to even play and just play behind him, like I could have been pretty good at it.
Yeah. So how do we end up doing at St. John's, man? For those that don't know, because you end up, being able to do your thing. How do we do it?
Patience, a lot of patience, because every year we had a #1 draft pick. You know what I mean? So when I came in, I'm behind those guys. Yeah. So I really had to wait my turn. You know, but like from sophomore year, I think my freshman year, I averaged maybe four points or 3, 4, I don't know, something like that, 3 or 4 points. Didn't play too much. But my sophomore year, my average went up to 8.5.
Yep.
And then from my sophomore year to my junior year, it went up to 14.5.
That's
like
good.
my big jumps that I had.
That's absolutely a big jump. 14 is a really good college player.
Yeah, but see, again, like I didn't have any mentor or anybody in my camp that knew anything about this that could give me good advice on what to do. But what I found out years later, my dad told me that there were people calling the house saying that I should have left St. John's after my junior year. You know what I mean?
To do what?
To go NBA after my junior year.
Go league junior year.
Right.
After my so did that news get to you? Did that trickle down to you? Was you thinking
No,
about
it didn't. No, I never found out. I found my dad told me this years later.
Oh man, okay. So it wasn't even in your mind. You was like, I'm gonna finish out.
Right. I wasn't even thinking about that. Oh hell no. Because and another thing, like with St. John's, they made me feel like I was always proving myself.
So you didn't even feel like you was NBA ready?
Nah, I never felt like I was the man, or I never felt like,
wow.
Never did. Wow. Always felt like I was proving myself.
This is interesting because this is not the Shelton that we would know at Amityville, because everybody's trying to get in a spot like you. So this is amazing, man. I really appreciate you sharing it. But this is also the thought process of an athlete, you know what I'm saying, a student athlete that most people don't know.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? As a human being, you're like, bro, I'm trying to prove myself. I'm not even thinking that I'm NBA caliber. And this people call in your house and say, my guy's NBA caliber, let's get him going. There's a couple of teams that would love to have him.
None of that, man.
Wow.
No, I didn't have anybody. And when I look back on my recruiting situation, and because I was more of a naive guy. Like I'm a church boy. I grew up a church boy. You know what I mean? I was in church all the time. So I wasn't really a street guy. Like, you know what I mean? So when it came time to doing business and doing things like that, like I wasn't, like my family was like, we're going to pray about it. Like,
we're going to pray about this and try to go that route. Like, but we have nobody, we don't even have anybody to bounce
right. Like all we could do is pray about the shit, like, that's all, you know what I mean? So I was real naive, man, and raw when I was out there, and they saw it, like they knew it. Like even coming to visit, just how my parents talk, like how my mom's talk about like God and all the time. And we're just hoping that we could, that poverty mentality. Like, I don't blame them. I'm just saying where we were.
We keeping it 1,000. This is what it was. And hopefully we can bring out and help somebody else. But to be honest, bro, we actually went to the same school. We went to the same high school. We ended up going to the same college.
Right, absolutely.
And I had no idea what the heck was going on during the recruitment process.
Wow.
Nothing. And I was getting my first one was from Manhattan College. It was a great fit. I took one trip. I took one visit to Texas A&M, and it was probably the best fit for me. But I didn't have the foresight to see that was the best fit.
Wow.
So I can recognize that, and I'm like, I don't know who to bounce this information off to. So this is another reason, Shelton, why I want to have this, so we can put all of our experiences and hopefully help the next young man that's coming through.
Man.
They can feel comfortable enough to reach out, and we can give them the real, or they can see something like this and give them the real. Because at that time, man, you're crossing over to young adulthood, and these decisions change the course of your life, bro.
Absolutely.
We don't know how to make them.
Oh man, definitely. Like, no, definitely. I have a book coming out, Tristan.
Oh, talk about it.
That shares these type of experiences, the things that people don't really know about. You know what I mean?
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
Because those people, like that business, like the basketball, I have my cousin Jay Joyner, Ed Brown from Copeg.
Ed Brown from Copeg.
Ed Brown, these are my first cousins, you know what I mean? Our mothers are sisters, like, you know what I mean? And I never really encouraged those guys to play or do anything like that because of what I went through.
Basketball's a cold world. It's a cold world.
Absolutely.
It's a cold world, and you don't recognize it. There's a lot more information out there now, but a lot of times you didn't recognize it. You played in the 80s, you know what I'm saying? There were like a lot of stuff was not seen. Now a lot more is seen, but it's always going to be a cold world. So you got to recognize that. You got to recognize that, and certain decisions can be made with you have more information. So you was green, I was green. How did we finish up at St. John's, man? And how did we get, what was the next level?
Well, with getting to St. John's with what we had to work with is a unbelievable story in itself.
It's an unbelievable story, dude. We just from guys from Amityville with no tutelage,
Right.
Just go out there, play at the park, you know, a
None.
little bit of CYO. I played 1 year AAU, and that blew my mind. I was like, this is what the basketball world is. I'm like,
right.
You got money in there, you see all kinds
But
of
it's a true testament, Tristan, to what comes out of Amityville, the type of talent that comes out of Amityville.
1,000. It's a true testament that, you know, you just got guys with very little resources and a lot of talent and finding a way to be successful. You know what I'm saying?
It's amazing.
Not very well prepared, and you finding a way as you go. And there's an inner determination that keeps you going. Like, nah, I'm gonna do it. Like you said, I'm gonna do it. And it ends up, you know, you end up leveling up like that. But you're like, man, if I only had that, you know, that would have made it a lot easier for me. So
I've had so many ifs that I'd be in the Hall of Fame, man. If I did, you know.
That's a fact. So I thank you for sharing that. But we did end up going into the NBA, man. So let's talk about that experience.
Yeah. Well, crazy thing about my draft experience, man. I mean, these people, they were just chewing me up, Tristan, and spitting me out, man.
Talk to me.
I had a lot of fun though. Don't get it twisted. Don't let me sit here and make you think I didn't have a good time.
Nah, there's gonna be good times in it, but it's also like looking back and it's like, man, this is wild. That's why you got a book coming out.
Absolutely. But the draft, I remember it was the Olympic year.
Okay.
It was the Olympic year, and I was like the last cut for the Olympics.
Okay.
I was the last person cut. But the draft came, and the New York Knicks said that they were going to take me. And before I went to the draft, I sat in my coach's office, and I was like, Coach Connor Second's office. And I said to him, I was like, well, Coach, first we had a dilemma with the Olympics because I got invited to try out for the Olympics, but it was the same time that we were graduating, you know? So Coach sat me down and made it seem like I had a choice. He said, now you're gonna have to decide, either go to your graduation or go to the Olympics. You know, the Olympic trials, like which one you want to do.
Right.
I thought about it for a second. And I said, well, you know what, Coach? Being in the Olympics is a dream of mine. Like I always wanted to do something like that. It would mean so much to me. You know, I said, but however, I think I'd rather graduate. Like I want to do it, my family to see me graduate. You know, I was on that shit. Yeah. And I'd rather see them, you know, this and that. And man, you would have thought, the trip was the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, man, came in that room, man. This man went crazy. I mean, he's like, what? He's like, you know, yeah, because I guess he was a little, would have been a little embarrassed if his own player, because he was on the panel for the, you know, choosing the team, you know, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So, and then I am thinking that I was going to get oh man, that's a very mature decision you made. That's very, you know.
He went crazy on you.
Man, please. But anyway, after that, the draft came up, and I was saying again, I was like, yo, I think I want to stay home. Like I'm gonna go to Amityville and watch the draft with my family and my friends, you know what I mean? Can't now they telling me, cursing me out again, telling me I'm crazy, like you can't do that. Like the Knicks are gonna take you, the Knicks want you, this and that, this and that. So I was like, well, the Knicks is not one of the teams that even worked me out or anything like that. I haven't talked to them or anything. So then come the day of the draft, the Knicks call me, and they call me in for a workout. This is before the draft. So I go in there, you know, I got my church shoes on, my little suit, you know, I'm clean going in there.
Yeah, clean.
You know? So I get there, man, they tell me, they're like, oh, well, we know everything about you, what you can do and everything. We just want to test your body fat, you know, see what kind of condition you're in, you know.
A little physical.
Yeah, we just want to see a little test, you know. So they said, take off your shirt, your jacket, my suit and tie. They gave me a t-shirt that I put on. I kept my suit, my dress pants on, and my dress shoes. I had these on the on the treadmill, man. Start walking. I promise you. They're like, yo, start walking. So I start walking there, speed it up. So here I am. I'm like, damn, this nigga said, I'm just gonna kill it, man. They're gonna get my body fat. So next thing you know, I'm in a sweat, man. My suit on my shoes. Yo, but dude told me though, he was like, man, you did the
I ain't never seen nobody do it in the suit, bro.
He said, you did the best. We do this. He said, we do this test to everybody that comes in. He said, you did the best out of everybody.
Everybody, you got church shoes on, fam.
They said that I had the lowest amount of body fat they've seen that came through there since Kenny Walker.
Kenny Skywalker, dude. So
these are the two things that I just remember about that meeting, like going in there and working out for them.
Wow.
But then we get to the draft now. Like now we back in the hotel because you know everybody's in New York. The draft's in New York. So all my homeboys like Charles Smith, Danny Manning, Mitch Richmond, you know, we all in the hotel kicking it, and everybody's like Danny's #1 pick. So he's like, yeah, you know how guys do when they get together. They're like, yeah, Danny, you going #1, you this and that. And he's like, yeah, but you playing in your home city. You know, we were doing stuff like that because it was for sure I was going to New York. You know, it was
everybody knew the whole everybody, all America was like, yo, you staying home, bro.
Man, it was the right choice. It was the best decision that they could have made because I just played with Mark Jackson the year before. I played with him for 3 years. Like we know each other left and right, you know?
Great fit.
And and he was rookie of the year. So he was ready and I was ready to come in right behind him and do the same thing. Man, we got there, Tristan, it got down to the pick, time for the Knicks to take the pick. And I remember, I still hear this in my head to this day. I hear half of the crowd yelling, Shelton Jones, you know, half of the crowd's yelling, Rod Strickland. And then you can hear little parts going, little other people going, Mark Bryant, like, so it's like, oh, snap.
Well, this is wild.
Who they gonna take, man, you know? And man, they took Rod Strickland. Like that shit broke my heart. Like I wasn't the same after that. I'm not even gonna front. Wow. After that, you know, most guys would have been like, oh, I'm gonna prove myself. I'm gonna show, you know?
That broke your heart.
It took a lot out of me, man.
Oh man. Thank you for sharing this, dude, because I had no idea. But yeah, I mean, you're like, yo, I'm gonna be playing home with my guy Mark Jackson.
I was so close. I was so close to that shit. I was so close. Man.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking because you know everybody's recognized, yo, this is the fit.
Yeah,
that's such a New York Knicks thing to do too.
I mean, it is, and it was because think about it. Why would you take Rod Strickland? Okay, Rod Strickland might have been a little more ready at that time than
you got the rookie of the year point.
You got the rookie of the year, and you saw how it turned out. You saw how it turned out.
Oh man.
So, you know, but they took Rod Strickland, already had it, and then if you look at that team that they had, they never had that small forward.
No, they didn't. They turned into the bomb squad.
They were using Johnny Newman, who was 6'7",
Trent Tucker,
and Gerald Wilkins, who was 6'6".
Yeah, they had a lot of. They had no 6'9" guy like that.
Nah, man. I mean, it was the perfect fit. I mean, it was. If they would have done that, we'd have probably had a dynasty over there, man. We'd have had a dynasty. You know, like I don't know, like what happened, man. Like I spent many years thinking, like, what the fuck, like.
What was the thought process behind that? Like you going to double up on a position that's locked in for years to come,
didn't make any sense.
and you're going to leave the hole with a hometown guy that fits it perfectly.
It didn't make any sense. But I'll be honest with you, I cruised my way through after that. Like that shit, that broke me right there.
Yeah, that was it, bro. Like you weren't the same.
Right. Nah, I wasn't the same.
Wow.
I didn't even really care as much anymore. I just did it because I could, you know.
Yeah, so it kind of took the joy and the love out.
Absolutely.
Like after that, because you was so hyped and so ready to be a Knick, and it was like, not only do I want to be, this is a great fit, and everybody recognizes that, and then they did not make that decision for whatever the reason. You was like crushed.
It's unbelievable, unbelievable.
Oh,
you know?
Man. That's crushing just to hear, and I kind of know what happened, but I didn't know that part.
Yeah. But that's why, Tristan, because over the years, a lot of people have asked me, you know, what happened? Like, what happened? And this is what inspired me to write this book that I'm accomplishing right now. Because just to get some of the stories out there, let people understand what's really going on, and let people coming up behind me that are going to be doing it have a little bit of information on the best route to take.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful because this right here, for a student athlete turning into a professional athlete, this is what's not heard or seen.
Right.
They see you on the stage, they cheer you or they boo you based on the performance.
Right.
And then I don't care about you.
Right.
But this right here, these are the different subtle things that impact the person, male or female, inside of their world that can change the whole dynamic of their career. And it did yours.
Right. I couldn't have said it better myself, you know, because it did. I got to tell you what, though, Tristan, I had a lot of fun, man. Like after those years, when I kind of got back to myself a little bit, I went over to Europe and played for a few years, for many years over in Europe, traveling everywhere, man. It was a beautiful thing. Able to experience the different cultures and different lifestyles across these. It made me really see how I wasn't even living over here, man. I wasn't even alive, man. I was like dead man walking.
That's beautiful, dude, because I had no idea. But I'm really happy to hear that, because when somebody takes that L like that, some people never recover. They go to a different lane, sometimes vices find them, and it's hard to get outside of that. So for you to be able to say that you did that, beautiful family, you got things going on and experience the world that most people have never experienced through the game of basketball and then through the ups and downs of the ride.
Sure. That's the one thing I'm most grateful for, is that I wake up in my right mind every day.
That's a beautiful
thing. You know what I mean? Because this shit could have drove me crazy, man.
It could have. And for another person, it did. It did. You know, they've never recovered from that moment. And it doesn't have to necessarily be basketball, but whatever that pivotal moment in their life, they never recovered. And they went all the way left with it. So that's beautiful that we're actually here sitting talking about this. And thank you again. What do you think about this alumni event that we got going on? Because
I think it's awesome, man, because we have too much history that we shouldn't come together like this.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We have too many former great players that people never even heard of, but that we know, that especially to us, man. You know, we need to have gatherings like that and come together and love on each other, man, share stories and things like that.
I agree 100%, and also give people flowers, such as you. This is one of the main reasons I did this tap in, is to motivate and educate, but at the same time, give people like you their just due as far as to celebrate. You have done so much for the community without saying a word. Just by your example is something that can't be duplicated. It cannot be duplicated, your walk, because of the time of when you did it. Sure. You did it, and I mean the crack era was there. Like, you did it in the midst of a lot of things.
That's why I call it the black and white era.
Yeah, you did it. But I mean, but your name rings out, and it rings out strongly because of your character. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
So no, we thank you, man, because when it comes to Amityville basketball, Amityville sports, Amityville in general, your name comes up first, as it should.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, man.
As it should. So we stand on your shoulders. Without you, there's really no Amityville basketball like that. Now, we had guys before you, you know, Jerry Crocker's of the world and everything like that. So we stand on their shoulder, but you opened the door nationally.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
And I don't know if you knew that. You was just being you. Being you, but you really did. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, for that, man, we're forever grateful. We're forever grateful for you, Shelton. And I'm thankful that you're taking the call for this and to take time out of your busy schedule to come to the event.
My pleasure.
You know what I mean? To come to our event, because we want to celebrate you, man. Hopefully you can get up and down a couple times, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Just for the memory, to people see you in real time, man, and then also to love on you, like you said, and say thank you.
No doubt, man. I'm looking forward to it, for sure.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to this book too, because I definitely didn't know a whole lot of these things. So thank you for keeping it 1,000 with us, man. We can probably talk for another, you know what I'm saying, 5 hours, and we will offline. And that was something that I think is cool too, is now that we're having these errors, you know what I mean? Talk as grown men to be able to not just help one another, but help whoever else we can along the way. So I thank you again, and I look forward to continuing to build with you.
It's my pleasure, and I noticed the parallels between us, so I'm looking forward to hearing the background to what you went through as well.
Absolutely, it's kind of interesting that you was on a little larger scale, but I was there's a lot of symmetry. It's very, 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 it's like almost hearing me talk a little bit about mine just on a smaller scale. So I think it's going to be fascinating, and I think we can actually help a lot of people. So this is going to be real cool.
I'm looking forward to it.
Same here. So much love. I look forward to the April 9th. It's circled on my calendar, and we're going to continue to build.
All right, I'm looking forward to it as well, man. Much love to the
Much love.
All right.
Later.
Later.